On today's Locked On Bulls, got to talk about, are the Chicago Bulls a team poised to actually make the playoffs this season? Io DeSumo sets his career high, and we'll take a look at the Bulls week ahead. All that and more coming up.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm Pat, the designer, host of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast. It's a lot harder to do when you're solo. You know what I mean? But hey, we showing love out here. Listen, we got to get into some interesting topics. I know a lot of people have dubbed me, especially Hayes, right? Pessimistic Pat this season when I talk about the outlook of what the Chicago Bulls season realistically is. When I talk about the future of what the Chicago Bulls season realistically is. And when I talk about the future of what this team realistically is. But I want to kind of zoom in a little bit. Normally I look at things with this zoomed out lens. Let's zoom in because this is a Bulls team that, while yes, is the future going to be crazy? Is there this 10-year plan that I think the Chicago Bulls are going to be able to go out there and dominate with? Not right now. I just don't have the confidence in that. I understand, right, the feeling of Kobe White. I understand what we're going to talk about, how Io DeSumo has really stepped up as of late. But let's be 100% honest, right? Like, those are the right now moments that make you feel good for a team that is going to underachieve. But when I look at this season, when you look at the NBA standings, and when you look at how this whole thing could play out, are the Chicago Bulls a playoff team? And I'm not talking about, right, just the team that like plays in the play-in and then ends up getting eliminated in the last game. I'm talking about a legitimate make the playoffs 1 through 8 playoff team. And as I kind of started to look through the standings, as I started to look through kind of how things are playing out right now, I mean, Bulls are in a situation right now where they would play their first game in the play-in if they were to get there against the Atlanta Hawks. And I think that the Bulls they could beat the Hawks, right? The Hawks are not a good basketball team. Trae Young being out, even though, right, the Hawks have won a little bit more as of late, but they've lost their last 3. Right, like since losing Trae Young, they won a little bit more, but they've lost their last 3. The Hawks are who they are. The Hawks actually, I mean, I guess it would be tough to see, but like there's actually a risk that they may not make the playoffs or play in. They're trying to like lose it out. But Brooklyn's not giving up here. They've lost their last 2 as well. But when I see a matchup versus the Hawks, I'm like, okay, team that the Bulls have matched up well with, a lot of close games, a lot of fight, but the Bulls can beat the Hawks, and the Bulls should beat the Hawks, and the Bulls have beat the Hawks in meaningful games. And so I could see the Bulls going out there and getting a win versus the Atlanta Hawks. And as it sits right now, the teams ahead of you, the 76ers and the Miami Heat. Now, both of these teams, Miami definitely better than Philly, and I think they could go out there and get a win. Philly's just kind of floundering right now. Not to say that they're not still competing. There's 37-30, not a bad season for Philly, but the loss of Joel Embiid is massive to that team, and it just looks like a team that is struggling to drag itself to the finish line here. Not to say that they're not a team that is dangerous, but I think Miami could upset them. And then it kind of comes down to Philly versus Chicago in that sense. And this is where it gets interesting, because if you get into a game versus the 76ers, not to say the 76ers don't have talent, but if I've got this Chicago Bulls full complement of players that are available, right? You get Kobe White in a game like that back, right? You get Julian Phillips back, who wasn't able to play last night with the right foot sprain. Like there's some pieces that you feel like, okay, I'm able to add these back into the equation. And I've got a 1-game play in a season where in clutch games, the Chicago Bulls have been the team that has led the NBA in clutch games, the team that is whose win percentage in clutch games is phenomenal this season, and above 600 win percentage in clutch games. That speaks to me that the Chicago Bulls might actually be able to find themselves as a legitimate playoff team this year. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean they're going to go on a championship run? They're going to pull off the Miami Heat? No, I don't believe that it means any of that, right? But I do think that when you're seeing the development that we're seeing from these young players, don't take playoffs for granted, because being in an opportunity to make the playoffs as these guys were when DeMar first got here first year and we ended up playing the Bucks is great. But they weren't the leaders on the team. They weren't the guys trying to lead you to playoff wins. They weren't the guys trying to find a way to get you to the playoffs. That was DeMar. That was Zach when Zach was healthy during that season, right? That was Vooch. That it wasn't Kobe and Io. And because of that, I look at this season a little bit different in the aspect of, okay, if the Chicago Bulls are a real playoff team, if the Chicago Bulls can find their way to the playoffs, now you're getting Kobe White in a scenario where it's pretty locked in to me that you're going to be playing the Boston Celtics. They have a 9.5 game lead on the Eastern Conference. And guess what? That probably means that you would end up losing to the Boston Celtics in the first round. They're a really good team, but you never know what's going to happen. You get a chip in the chair and you go out there and you hope that you can make something happen. But the experience of Kobe being the lead point guard on a team that is competing for the playoffs, those are the things that kind of start you off maybe moving down the right path. The Io DeSumus of the Chicago Bulls, who's really starting to find his own as a scorer in this league right now, and I love to see that, and really finding his way as that off-ball guy. What's he going to be able to bring to the table? Now, we know the Drew Holiday Io DeSumo matchup has not been one that has favored us in the past. I mean, Drew Holiday sees Io DeSumo and he's like, well, it is time to be the greatest player of all time. But I still think that experience that they gained, that little bit that they learned from going through that, is something that you kind of want to see the Bulls actually get themselves into. Because if you're going to have anything in a future sense, if you're going to have anything in a, hey, this team can do this in the long run sense, for the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, you would like it to start with the 24-year-old point guard and Kobe White going out there and actually being able to lead a team into a playoff run, whether it be a playoff run that ends in a 5-game series or not, right? You would like to see an Unaralt Batim be able to start off his NBA career in the playoffs his first year. You would like to see a Julian Phillips, same thing, right? Like, I think that there's some value in that, because now, and it's almost symbolic in a way, right? Now, the fact that no disrespect to Adam and Stacey, the fact that Adam and Stacey got by the retirement thing last night is absolutely hilarious, and it cracked me up completely, dog, because I was just like, no, come on, you gotta read the names. Twitter's a dangerous place now. You got to verify everything, whatever X is, right? You got to verify everything, double verify, triple verify, quadruple verified, dog. Like, so it was funny to me that they end up getting got. Everybody's gotten got before. I've gotten got, and I haven't said it on national television. But hey, Stacey, you got to catch them jokes. Like, that's okay. You know what I mean, that's okay. Every now and then, every players mess up, and you got to catch some of them jokes. And there's been some good jokes out there. But the point of all of that was the fact that it would be symbolic in a way where the Kobe White Chicago Bulls would be going up against the Boston Celtics, which is where the Derrick Rose Chicago Bulls got their first big playoff experience and their first big start, and one of the best series that we've seen. And they were not expected to go out there and compete the way that they did. And guess what? They took that team to 7. That could be something similar here. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but you've got better players on this team. I mean, you're going to war with a starting lineup that definitely looks better than what Derrick went to war with out there, right? Like, next, but I mean, is it okay? Hold on, let me think this through. Derrick, Lou, Ben Gordon, and Joe. Nah, you got a better one. Nah, the Bulls got a better one. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Bulls now have a better one. Kobe White, Io DeSumo. I love that team, but like that was the Derrick Rose show. Kobe White, Io DeSumo, DeMar DeRozan, Torrey Craig probably in at the 4 in that situation, and Vooch at the 5. And you've got some young guys developing off of the bench. I think that would be a very good experience getter for the Bulls, and the fact that it could come against the Boston Celtics, like I said, in almost a symbolic turn of events that, hey, our next young point guard starts his possible playoff experience off against Boston, I think that will be something that would actually be valuable to the Bulls moving forward. And so are the Chicago Bulls a playoff team, a legitimate playoff team? Not to say they're going to win, but are they a legitimate playoff team? I think they could be. And that maybe is something for Bulls fans to get excited for, at least in the short term. Listen, everything's such a long-term view. Sometimes you got to be excited about what's coming around. That was about to be a crazy pause. Sometimes you have to be excited about what's right in front of you and not what's 6 blocks down the road. Like, that was about to be insane. Jesus, let's keep this thing moving along. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about Ayo Dosunmu setting his career high. And again, the development of youth that the Chicago Bulls have really been able to go out there and do. But first, we got to tell you guys all about eBay Motors. Our partners of eBay at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire every week, we're going to provide you with players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked for us this week. eBay's guaranteed fit fantasy player of the week. And ladies and gentlemen, it is Grady Dick. The Raptors seem committed to giving us 30-minute. Hey, yo. I swear this is what the paper says, dog. I swear this is what the paper says. The Raptors seem committed to giving us 30 minutes of Dick each night as they rotate in and out other players in their lineup. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows the championship team is each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. If you with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure that your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motor has it. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, it's a guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to USA customers. Eligible items apply. Exclusions do apply. All right, Chicago. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, which your team every single day. Let's talk about Ayo Dosunmu's game, man. Ayo Dosunmu last night going up against the Washington Wizards absolutely went ballistic, setting his new career high in 40 minutes, 34 points, 9 assists, 3 rebounds. Really good game from Ayo Dosunmu. And I mean, listen, when you look at how this young man has developed, how this young man has really turned a corner, and how he was attacking last night. Like, it was kind of like, I keep saying this, it's almost as if there's a switch that is flipped for the Chicago Bulls that are on the floor right now. Like, when you look at Ayo's game, 4 for 7 from the 3-point line, knocking down that 3 really well last night. He went 14 for 22 as a whole, shooting at 63% last night. Like, I think, and yes, it's the Wizards. The Wizards are dog water. Like, they're a bad basketball team. Like, I've never seen a worse basketball team. You know how bad the Wizards are? I watched that game last night, and I forgot at times Jordan Poole was on the Wizards during the game. Like, there was legitimately times last night during the game where I was watching, and I was like, listen, I forgot Jordan Poole was out there. Like, legitimately, I did not realize that you were making an impact on the court. And guess what? He really didn't. 4 for 12 on the night, 3 for 6. The fall off of Jordan Poole needs to be studied for how bad it actually is. And I would not be surprised if he was somebody that we're talking about down the road plays for the Chicago Bulls. Like, I'm not going to lie. I would not be surprised if he's like a reclamation project for like AK somewhere down the line. But man, it's just, it's funny because it's just like Washington's such a dog water city, but it shouldn't taint the growth that you've seen. And I'll say this, the confidence that you have seen Ayo Dosunmu be able to develop. Last year felt like he lost a little bit of confidence. Last year felt like he lost a little bit of what made him him, right? Like he went out there and was not playing as quickly. The defense was not as prevalent. And once the defense went, it was like, all right, well, like he's still shooting 50%, but like he's getting cooked on the other end. He's not giving us enough defensively. The identity of Ayo Dosunmu is the defensive end. The identity of the player that we look at, and yes, he's becoming more of a scorer and he's doing a lot of things well on the scoring tip, but it still comes from that. Let's get out on the break. Let's attack. Let's push. Let's if I get this steal, we're down. We're going. Yeah, I mean, like that was the mentality he came out of Illinois with. That was the player we saw his rookie year. And then that second year, we kind of didn't see that guy anymore. Third year, welcome back, baby. And I love the fact that it is that you've seen him kind of have this resurgence of now I'm in charge. Now I'm the leader, right? There's no bigger voices right now in that huddle than Ayo Dosunmu and then Kobe White. And that is why you're seeing a change in this Bulls team. Now, personnel wise, there's still some more changes that need to come. But the fact that his voice is always being heard, and he's always been somebody who's been a leader. He's always been somebody who's been like, all right, let's get together. Let's huddle on this. Let's talk about this, right? Remember, DeMar, he was the main guy when DeMar would be like trying to go out there and get a tech. And I'm saying trying to go get a tech, trying to get teched up. Well, he's like, we don't need that, man. Come on, let's get it together. Like the fact that you have the level of maturity and two really young players in Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu that you have does make you feel like there may be something there. Now, I still think you need to add some pieces. I don't know if Ayo Dosunmu was going to be a 40-point per night type of guy, but the fact that, right, or I'm sorry, a 30-point a night kind of guy, but the fact that you watched that game last night and you just saw him take control of the entire game. I thought that was really impressive. The way that him and Vooch worked together. Vooch had 29 points last night, 13 rebounds. How him and Vooch worked together really well was exciting. And you have to give, I've said this a lot, right? You have to give reverence to DeMar for how he's allowing the transition to happen. And I know a lot of people want to keep DeMar long-term. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but DeMar DeRozan kind of sidestepping last night versus the Wizards while Ayo was cooking. And looking like a proud father while it was happening. Just like, look at my boys. Look at the boys out there hooping. Go and play that game, boy. Man, play that little basketball game you be playing. Like, I thought that was really cool to see as well. And that he's been, we know what he's been for these young guys. We know he's been instrumental for the confidence that has been instilled in these young guys, right? Like he's a big believer in all of them going out there and making plays. And he's been that throughout this entire season. And it's been fun to watch as we've seen the growth of Kobe and we've seen the growth of Ayo. And I think, the fact that we're seeing the confidence come back in Ayo is it speaks to his teammates kind of sticking around and working with him, right? Sticking around and saying, listen, we're not giving up on you. We're not out on you. We want to see you go out there and succeed. And to Billy Donovan's credit, Billy Donovan not giving up on him, right? It got bad last year. It got real bad to the point where there were times you couldn't play Ayo because he was actually a liability on the court. But it did not allow Ayo to be able to get onto the court. It did not allow Ayo to be able to have a bench role this season. It did not allow, right? Like you felt Ayo Dosunmu coming off of the bench. Maybe he's more comfortable. Maybe he's able to get back in. And he was. Listen, and now all of a sudden, with the confidence sky high, with the defensive ability that he's been able to show sky high, with how him and Kobe have really worked together and played off of each other. I feel like there's a little bit of excitement here with the Chicago Bulls moving forward. And if anything, and I said this on Twitter, this is the bright spot of the season. These two. And maybe, right, like I look at Julian. I haven't seen enough from the other guys, right? Like, but these two, Ayo and Kobe, are the bright spot. I haven't seen enough from Julian Phillips. I haven't seen enough from Batum. I haven't seen enough from Dalen Terry. I don't know. They're still the unknown. I see things I like in their game. I like it a lot better than Leroy's game. Right? I see things that I feel are impactful in their game. And I would have rather seen, well, I guess we saw a good chunk from everybody last night. I don't know. Any bit that I don't need to see Javon Carter on the floor, I'm good with. You know what I mean? Like, Javon last night was basically just 3 personal fouls out there. Like I didn't need him on the court at all. I don't know why Leroy is getting so much playing time. Could have played Andrew Funk. Andrew Funk came up yesterday, and yeah, could have played him a little bit, maybe. Yeah, see what you got there. I'm seeing what I got in all my young guys at this point. Yeah, I mean, Adama Sanaga was up there, played 1 minute. Guess what he did? 1 basket, 1 rebound, 2 points. Played 1 minute, 1 basket, 1 rebound, 2 points. And it was an offensive rebound. Put him in again. He should play more. Especially last night when you were dogging these mugs out. Especially last night. Put him in again. But no, man, I'm excited for the growth that we've seen out of the 2 young players that we have. And I hope that this is the start of something that can actually be a long-term fix for the Chicago Bulls. And keep killing it, Io. Love the way that you're able to do it. And then after the game, right, he's talking about Justin Fields and just a straight leader. Hey, business is business. Yeah, I mean, it's a business at the end of the day. And people get traded. And it sucks. And I wish him nothing but the best in Pittsburgh. And that's exactly how you got to deal with it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, shout out to Aldo Sumo for handling it the right way. But before we get into this final topic, where we got to look ahead at the games that the Chicago Bulls have coming up this week, we got to tell you guys all about Stitch Fix. Now, here's the thing. Stitch Fix is giving you that confidence boost that you are looking for, that you can get from an outfit that makes you look really, really good. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. All you got to do is go over to the app, download Stitch Fix. And I'm a guy who has used Stitch Fix quite a bit. And you got to play with it a lot. You got to sit there and work out, okay, I do like this, I don't like this. I do like this, I don't like this. And as you do that throughout the day, I did that through some of my downtime, right? It really starts to tell your stylist, okay, these are the styles that this guy likes. These are the pieces that this guy would like. These are the pieces that would make you feel really good. It makes it so easy. And for somebody, listen, I don't like sitting there going clothes shopping. I'm not taking a day to go clothes shopping for myself. I'll do it for my girl, but I'm not doing it for myself, right? I love the fact that I can get Stitch Fix. It's almost like a surprise every single week. And the fact that, you know, they're offering you now this promo code, you gotta love that. It's styles that make you feel good, make you look good. Get started today at stitchfix.com/locked on, the stitchfix.com/locked on, stitchfix.com/locked on. And remember, if you don't love something, just send it back. That's all it is. Just send it back, baby. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page if you have not done so. We got to look ahead at the Chicago Bulls schedule that is coming up this week. The Bulls now 7-6 since the All-Star break. I'm kind of where I thought that they would be, right? I'm not sitting here surprised by where the Bulls are. I'm not losing my mind that the Bulls are only 7-6. It's about where I thought that they would be. They've lost some tough games that they've been competitive in. They've won some tough games that they've been very competitive in. And I mean, listen, they've also got their heads kicked in by the Dallas Mavericks. You know, there's also that. But the week ahead for the Chicago Bulls, only 3 games throughout this week, but 3 games that to me can put you in the right direction. You got the Trailblazers, you got the Rockets. Those 2 are very winnable games for this team. Hopefully we'll get Kobe White back for one of those. I believe he was close to coming back for this Wizards game. Didn't want to push him. Fine. Trailblazers game would be a great game to get him back in there. A team that you can get some really simple run against. Blazers are just, I don't know, bro. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. One of the the bad teams in the NBA, are the bad teams in this NBA worse? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the teams that are at the bottom of the bottom are like some of the worst basketball teams. The Wizards are literally, I was talking with my producer about this. The Wizards and the Blazers are 2 of the worst run franchises over the last 10 years, possibly in sports. And one of those teams had Damian Lillard on it. But you just look at the moves that they made. You look how they've moved. You look at what they've done. Like, it just 2 of the worst run franchises over the last 10 years. Wizards definitely number 1. I think Wizards might be one of the worst run sports franchises in history. And this has come from somebody who has dealt with the Chicago Bulls for 20 years. You know what I mean? But listen, you got the Blazers coming up. That should be a good win. You should be talking about back-to-back wins on that one. Rockets is interesting because the Rockets are a solid team, but Rockets dealing with a little bit of an injury bug here. And so you kind of look at that and say, okay, maybe you got a little bit of a shot here. You go down there, you take that Rockets game. That one is going to be in Houston. I think that's also a very winnable game. And then guess what? The team that I talked about, and this is to me where I want to see the Chicago Bulls kind of prove the first topic right, or prove that you're competitive enough to go out there versus the Boston Celtics, because that's the matchup that the Bulls have on Saturday. And when you talk about, how the Bulls have played Boston, the last time you played them right before the All-Star break, maybe you weren't caring as much. Maybe you weren't sitting there worried about it as much. But I'll tell you this, they have handled the Bulls mightily this season. I mean, you're talking about a 124-97 win, right? And that was in the in-season tournament. And then you look at the 129-112 win that Boston put on us right before the All-Star break. Like, it has not been a fun time versus the Boston Celtics this season. They have looked like the number one team, and I would love to see the Chicago Bulls kind of, okay, let's fight back. Hey, let's go out here and let's show them that, no, we're not just going to roll over and die because you're the number one seed in the NBA. We're not just going to give it all up because you're the number one seed in the NBA. Like, we're going to go out here and we're going to try and we're going to compete. We're going to fight tooth and nail. I think that this game needs to be that kind of environment. Plus, it is in Chicago. You've got some really interesting home games coming up for you, an opportunity to gain some ground here, maybe move out of that ninth spot. I don't know if you're going to move out that ninth spot, but I mean, you're 4 games back right now in the Miami Heat. It would be tough to catch. It would be tough to catch 4 games back. You would have to assume that Miami is going to lose 4 games and the Bulls are going to win 4 games. Right now, the Bulls have a schedule that does allow them to go out there and make that happen, finishing out the season. I mean, you got Wizards. Pacers at home is tough, but then you got Nets, Hawks, Magic in there, although the Magic have played us really well this season. You got the Pistons in there. You got the Wizards again. So there's some very winnable games. You got to win some games that you're not expected to win as well. But I think that, Miami's not going to lose enough games for you to catch them, pretty much is my feeling on it. And so I think the Bulls are kind of locked in at that 9th seed. But if you can go, and dare I say, this is a defining week for the Chicago Bulls for what their playoff hopes could be this year. You start off with a win versus Washington. If you start to get a little bit more healthy, you start things off with the Blazers tomorrow. If you can go 3-0 this week. And yes, that's a tough ask, but honestly, if you can go 3-0 this week, that could be the spark of a run that carries you through the playoffs. Now, whatever that ends up being, right? Who knows, right? You finish the season hot, but that could be a spark that definitely gets you through the play-in tournament, getting you to the playoffs. And you got a number 1 matchup versus Boston. Hey, you're in there. Go out there and fight. And now you would hopefully have, right, a win against Boston that you can point to, that Billy Donovan can look at and say, how did we do this? What did we do that made this work? And hopefully it is things that speak to what the Chicago Bulls do well. Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of what you hope for in that situation. And to me, I think that the week ahead, this is a week that if you want to have a run towards heading towards the play-in and the playoffs, this is the week that you need to make that run. This is the week you need to make that mark, because some tough games after that as well. I mean, listen, I believe I am going to that Pacers game on the 27th. That'll be a fun time. And then we got Bulls and Nets Bulls and Timberwolves on that following Sunday. You got Bulls and Knicks twice in April. So like there's some tough games on the schedule ahead, and this is where you want to really hit your stride here heading towards this final stretch of the season. Not many games left in the season. Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games left in the season. 14 games left. What are the Chicago Bulls going to do? We'll see. And we'll be here to cover it all on Locked On Bulls. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the page. Leave that 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. For Hayes, I am Pat the Designer. I don't know why I said for Hayes. I am Pat the Designer. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the page. Y'all stay safe out there in Chicago. See Red Nation. Stand up. Peace.